There have been 45 presidents of the United States. 2 were elected to non-consecutive terms, making Grover Cleveland number 22 and 24, and Donald Trump number 45 and 47. There are 5 living presidents as of September 2025, and 40 presidents are interred at gravesites in 20 states across America. 4 presidents have been assassinated: Lincoln, Garfield, McKinley, and Kennedy. 3 presidents were shot but survived their wounds: Teddy Roosevelt, Ronald Reagan, and Donald Trump. 6 presidents have lived to age 90 or longer. Jimmy Carter lived the longest, to 100 years old. William Henry Harrison served the shortest time in office, 32 days, and Franklin Roosevelt served the longest time in office, 12 years and 11 days. Jimmy and Rosalind Carter were married the longest, 77 years. 4 presidents were married to distant cousins. 3 died on July 4th: John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and James Monroe, and Calvin Coolidge was born on the 4th of July. With 15, John Tyler had the most children, 8 with his first wife and 7 with his second wife. This video is the product of multiple road trips over many years to visit the graves of all 40 presidents no longer with us, and to thank them for the service to the country. George Washington, our first president, was born at his family's plantation on Pope's Creek in Westmoreland County, Virginia, on February 22, 1732, and lived to age 67. He married Martha Custis, a widow with 2 children, at age 26. She was 27. They were married for 40 years. He was 57 when elected president and served 2 full terms in office. He commanded the Continental Army during the American Revolution and presided over the convention that drafted the U.S. Constitution. They are buried at his Mount Vernon estate in Mount Vernon, Virginia. John Adams, our second president, was born in Braintree, Massachusetts on October 30, 1735. He married his 3rd cousin, Abigail Smith, when he was 28. She was 19. They were married for 54 years and had 5 children, including John Quincy Adams, our 6th president. He was 61 when elected president and served 1 term. John Adams was vice president under George Washington. He was the first president to live in the White House. He was 90 years old when he died on July 4, 1826. They are buried in the United First Parish Church in Quincy, Massachusetts. Thomas Jefferson, our 3rd president, was born at Shadwell Plantation in Western Virginia on April 13, 1743. He married his 3rd cousin, Martha Skelton, when he was 29. She was 23. They were married for 10 years before she died. They had 6 children together. He was 57 when elected president and served 2 terms. Thomas Jefferson was an American founding father, the principal author of the Declaration of Independence, and vice president to John Adams. Jefferson was 83 when he died on July 4, 1826, the same day as John Adams. He is buried in the Monticello graveyard at Jefferson's Monticello estate in Charlottesville, Virginia. James Madison, our 4th president, was born at Belgrove Plantation in Port Conway, Virginia, on March 16, 1751. He married Dolly Payne Todd, a widow with 1 child, introduced to him by Aaron Burr. They were married for 42 years. He was 43 and she was 26 when they married. They had no children together. He was 57 when elected president and served for 2 terms. He is referred to as the father of the Constitution because of the pivotal roles he played in drafting the document and ratification. Madison was just 5 feet 4 inches tall and weighed only 100 pounds. He died at age 85 on June 28, 1836. They are buried in the Madison Family Cemetery at Madison's Montpelier Estate, Montpelier Station, Virginia. James Monroe, our 5th president, was born in Westmoreland County, Virginia, on April 28, 1758. He married Elizabeth Courtwright at age 27. She was just 17. They had 3 children and were married for 45 years. He was 58 when he was elected president and served for 2 terms. He is credited with the Missouri Compromise, the Monroe Doctrine, and the annexation of Florida for the United States. He is the last president from the Founding Fathers, one of 3 to have died on July 4th. He died at age 73 on July 4, 1831. He is buried in the Hollywood Cemetery in Richmond, Virginia. John Quincy Adams, our 6th president, was born in Braintree, Massachusetts on July 11, 1767. He married British-born Louisa Johnson at age 30. She was 22. They were married for 51 years and had 4 children. He was 57 when elected president and served for 1 term. John Quincy Adams was the son of 2nd President John Adams and Abigail Adams. He served as a diplomat, a senator, and for 17 years in the House of Representatives after losing the presidency to Andrew Jackson. He died at age 80 on February 23, 1848. They are buried in the United First Parish Church in Quincy, Massachusetts. Andrew Jackson, our 7th president, was born on March 15, 1767, in the Waxhaw settlement along the border between North and South Carolina. He married Rachel Donaldson when they were both aged 27. They were married for 34 years and had 1 adopted nephew. He was 61 when elected president and served 2 terms. He sought to act as the direct representative of the common man. His wife Rachel died just days after his election as president. He died at age 78 on June 8th of 1845. They are buried at Jackson's Hermitage Estate in Nashville, Tennessee. Martin Van Buren was born on December 5, 1782 in Kinderhook, New York. He married Hannah Hose, his first cousin once removed, when they were both aged 24. They were married for 12 years before she died of tuberculosis. They had 4 children. He was 54 when elected president and served for 1 term. He was vice president and chosen successor of President Andrew Jackson. He was the first president born a U.S. citizen. The financial panic of 1837 cost him his re-election. He died at age 79 on July 24, 1862. They are buried at the Kinderhook Reformed Church Cemetery, Kinderhook, New York. William Henry Harrison, our 9th president, was born on February 9, 1773 at Berkeley, his family's plantation on the James River in Virginia. He married Anna Sims when he was 22 and she was 20. They were married for 46 years and had 10 children. He was 68 when elected president and served just 31 days before dying on April 4, 1841 from pneumonia. He was the shortest term of any president, and he was the first to die in office. He is buried at the William Henry Harrison Tomb State Memorial in North Bend, Ohio. John Tyler, our 10th president, was born on March 29, 1790 at Greenway Plantation, Charles City County, Virginia. He married Letitia Christian when he was 23 and she was 22. They were married for 29 years and had 8 children. He married Julia Gardner after the death of his first wife, Letitia. He was 54, she was 24, and they had 7 children together. Tyler, at age 51, was the first vice president to assume the office of president after the death of his predecessor and served out the remaining 3 years and 11 months of Harrison's term. His most notable accomplishment was the annexation of Texas. He died at age 71 and is buried in the Hollywood Cemetery, Richmond, Virginia. James Polk, our 11th president, was born on November 2, 1795 in a log cabin in Pineville, North Carolina. He married Sarah Childress when he was 29. She was 21. They were married for 25 years but never had children. He was 49 when he was elected president after losing his election for governor of Tennessee the year before. He served 1 term as president and oversaw the largest territorial expansion in American history with the acquisition of the Oregon Territory, California, and the territory of New Mexico. He died at age 53 and is buried at the Tennessee state capitol, Nashville, Tennessee, with his wife Sarah. Zachary Taylor, our 12th president, was born on November 24, 1784, on a plantation in Orange County, Virginia. He married Margaret Smith when he was 26. She was 22. They were married for 40 years and had 6 children. He was 64 when elected president. He died on July 9, 1850, from gastroenteritis after 16 months in office. Zachary Taylor was a career officer in the United States Army, rising to the rank of Major General. As president, he told Southern leaders who threatened to secede that prisoners, taken in rebellion against the Union, he would hang, with less reluctance than he had hanged deserters and spies in Mexico. He is buried at the Zachary Taylor National Cemetery, Louisville, Kentucky. Millard Fillmore, our 13th president, was born on January 7, 1800, in Summer Hill, New York. He was married to Abigail Powers for 27 years and had 2 children with her. He married Caroline Carmichael 5 years after the death of Abigail, and they were married for 16 years. He was 26, and Abigail was 28 when they married. He was 58, and Caroline was 45 when they married. He assumed the office of president at age 50 after the death of Zachary Taylor and served out the remainder of his term. He was not nominated by his party in the 1852 election. He is most known for the Compromise of 1850, which tried to keep peace between the North and South. He died at age 74 and is buried at Forest Lawn Cemetery, Buffalo, New York. Franklin Pierce, our 14th president, was born on November 23, 1804, in Hillsborough, New Hampshire. He married Jane Appleton when he was 30 and she was 28. They were married for 29 years and had 3 children. He was 48 when elected president and served for 1 term. He was a Northern Democrat who believed that the abolitionist movement was a threat to the nation's unity. He alienated anti-slavery groups by signing the Kansas-Nebraska Act and enforcing the Fugitive Slave Act. He died at age 64 and is buried at the Old North Cemetery in Concord, New Hampshire. James Buchanan, our 15th president, was born on April 23, 1791, in Cove Gap, Pennsylvania. He was a lifelong bachelor. He was 65 when elected president and served 1 term. James Buchanan is known for 3 things. He's the only president that was never married. Until Joe Biden, he was the only president from Pennsylvania, and he was president before Abraham Lincoln. He died at age 77 and is buried at the Woodward Hill Cemetery in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president, was born on February 12, 1809, near Hodgenville, Kentucky, in a log cabin. He married Mary Todd when he was 33. She was 24. They were married for 23 years and had 4 children. He was 52 when first elected president. He was assassinated at the beginning of his 2nd term. Lincoln is known primarily for his leadership during the Civil War and for signing the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed the slaves. He was assassinated 5 days after Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse, ending the Civil War. He died at age 56 and is buried at Oak Ridge Cemetery in Springfield, Illinois. Andrew Johnson, our 17th president, was born on December 29, 1808, in Raleigh, North Carolina. He married Eliza McCardle when he was 19. She was 17. They were married for 48 years and had 5 children. He assumed the office of president at age 56 after the death of Abraham Lincoln and served out the remainder of his term. He did not run for a 2nd presidential term. Johnson was the first American president to be impeached and the only president to be later elected to the U.S. Senate. He died 5 months into a Senate term at age 66 and is buried at the Andrew Johnson National Cemetery in Greenville, Tennessee. Ulysses S Grant, our 18th president, was born on April 27, 1822, in Point Pleasant, Ohio. He married Julia Dent when he was 26 and she was 22. They were married for 37 years and had 4 children. He was elected president at age 46 and served 2 terms. He led the Union Army to victory in the Civil War. As president, he signed legislation establishing Yellowstone as our first national park and an 8-hour workday for federal employees. He died at age 63 and is buried at the General Grant National Memorial, Riverside Park, New York, New York. Rutherford B. Hayes, our 19th president, was born on October 4, 1822 in Delaware, Ohio. He married Lucy Webb when he was 30 and she was 21. They were married for 37 years and had 8 children. He was 54 when elected president and served for 1 term. He did not serve alcohol in the White House. He also held the first Easter egg roll at the White House, which is now an annual tradition. After his controversial election, Hayes promised not to run for re-election, and he kept that promise. He died at age 70 and is buried at his Hayes Spiegel Grove estate at Rutherford B. Hayes Presidential Center in Fremont, Ohio. James Garfield, our 20th president, was born on November 19, 1831, in Moreland Hills, Ohio. He married Lucretia Rudolph when he was 27 and she was 26. They were married for 23 years and had 6 children. He was 49 when elected president and served for 6 months before being assassinated. Garfield served in the Union Army and in the House of Representatives before running for president. He was shot at the Baltimore and Potomac Railroad Station in Washington, D.C. on Saturday, July 2, 1881, and died 79 days later. He is buried at Lakeview Cemetery, Cleveland, Ohio. Chester Arthur, our 21st president, was born on October 5, 1829, in Fairfield, Vermont. He married Nell Herndon when he was 30 and she was 22. They were married for 21 years and had 3 children. He assumed the office of president at age 51 after the death of James Garfield and served out the remainder of his term before retiring. He signed the first general federal immigration law and the Pendleton Act, which reformed civil service. He was at the opening ceremony of the Brooklyn Bridge. He died at age 57 and is buried at the Albany Rural Cemetery in Menands, New York. Grover Cleveland, our 22nd and 24th president, was born on March 18, 1837 in Caldwell, New Jersey. He married Frances Folsom when he was 49. She was only 22. They were married for 22 years and had 4 children. He was 47 when he was elected president and served 2 non-consecutive terms. He restored the power of the executive branch by vetoing over 400 bills in his first term. He also signed the Presidential Succession Act. He died at age 71 and is buried at the Princeton Cemetery, Princeton, New Jersey. Benjamin Harrison, our 23rd president, was born on August 30, 1833 in North Bend, Ohio. He was married to Carolyn Scott for 39 years and had 2 children with her. He married Mary Lord, Carolyn's widowed niece, 3 years after the death of Carolyn, and they were married for 5 years and had 1 child. He was 20 and Carolyn was 21 when they married. He was 63 and Mary was 38 when they married. He was 55 when elected president and served 1 term. He was the grandson of William Henry Harrison, our 9th president. His second wife, Mary, was instrumental in preserving his legacy. They are buried at the Crown Hill Cemetery, Indianapolis, Indiana. William McKinley, our 25th president, was born on January 29, 1843, in Niles, Ohio. He married Ida Saxton when he was 28 and she was 24. They were married for 30 years and had 2 children. He was 54 when first elected president. He served 1 full term and was assassinated 6 months and 10 days into a second term. He led the nation to victory in the Spanish-American War and raised protective tariffs to promote American industry. He died at age 58 and is buried at the McKinley National Memorial in Canton, Ohio. Theodore Roosevelt, our 26th president, was born on October 27, 1858 in New York City. He was married to Alice Lee for 4 years and had 1 child with her. He married Edith Caro 2 years after the death of Alice, and they were married for 33 years and had 5 children. He was 22 and Alice was 19 when they married. He was 28 and Edith was 25 when they married. He assumed the office of president at age 42 after the death of William McKinley and served out the remaining 3.5 years of his term, and then served another term of his own. He added significant lands to the National Forest in the West, reserved lands for public use, and fostered great irrigation projects. He died at age 60 and is buried at Young's Memorial Cemetery, Oyster Bay, New York. William Howard Taft, our 27th president, was born on September 15, 1857 in Cincinnati, Ohio. He married Helen Herron when he was 29 and she was 25. They were married for 44 years and had 3 children. He was 51 when elected president and served for 1 term. He became the 10th Chief Justice of the United States 8 years after leaving office. He is the only person to have served in both of these offices. He died at age 72 and is buried in Arlington National Cemetery, Arlington, Virginia. Woodrow Wilson, our 28th president, was born on December 28, 1856 in Staunton, Virginia. He was married to Ellen Axon for 29 years and had 3 children with her. He married Edith Bowling Galt 1 year after the death of Ellen, and they were married for 9 years and had no children. He was 29 and Ellen was 25 when they married. He was 59 and Edith was 43 when they married. He was 56 when elected president and served 2 terms. He led America into World War I in order to make the world safe for democracy after a policy of neutrality at the outbreak of the war. He created the League of Nations and presided over ratification of the 19th Amendment, giving women the right to vote. He died at age 67 and is buried in the Washington National Cathedral, Washington, D.C. Warren Harding, our 29th president, was born on November 2, 1865 in Blooming Grove, Ohio. He married Florence Kling DeWolf, a widow with 1 child, when he was 26 and she was 31. They were married for 32 years. He was 55 when elected president and served for 2.5 years before dying of a heart attack at the Palace Hotel in San Francisco, California. His term in office was fraught with scandal, including the Teapot Dome involving bribery in his administration. He died at age 57 and is buried at the Harding Memorial, Marion, Ohio. Calvin Coolidge, our 30th president, was born on July 4, 1872 in Plymouth Notch, Vermont, the only president to have been born on the 4th of July. He married Grace Goodhue when he was 33 and she was 26. They were married for 28 years and had 2 children. He assumed the office of president at age 51 after the death of Warren Harding and served out his remaining term, then served 1 more term of his own. He inherited an administration that was mired in scandal. He restored integrity to the executive branch. He died at age 60 and is buried at the Plymouth Notch Cemetery, Plymouth, Vermont. Herbert Hoover, our 31st president, was born on August 10, 1874 in West Branch, Iowa. He married Lou Henry when they were both aged 25. They were married for 45 years and had 2 children. He was 54 when elected president and served for 1 term. He became the scapegoat for the Great Depression of 1929, but received worldwide gratitude as the great humanitarian who fed war-torn Europe during and after World War I. He died at age 90 and is buried at the Herbert Hoover Presidential Library and Museum in West Branch, Iowa. Franklin Roosevelt, our 32nd president, was born on January 30, 1882 in Hyde Park, New York. He married his 5th cousin, Eleanor Roosevelt, when he was 23. She was 21. They were married for 40 years and had 6 children. He was 51 when elected president. He is the only president to have been elected 4 times and died in office 3 months after his last election. His New Deal led the country out of the Depression and implemented Social Security and work for the unemployed. He presided over World War II and development of the nuclear bomb. He died at age 63, and they are buried at Roosevelt's Springwood Estate, Hyde Park, New York. Harry Truman, our 33rd president, was born on May 8, 1884 in Lamar, Missouri. He married Elizabeth Bess Wallace when he was 35 and she was 34. They were married for 53 years and had 1 daughter. He assumed the office of president at age 60 after the death of Franklin Roosevelt and served out his remaining term, then served one more term of his own. He gave the order to drop the atomic bomb, thereby ending World War II. He issued executive orders desegregating the armed forces and forbidding racial discrimination in federal employment. He famously said, "The buck stops here," and "The presidency is not for sale." He died at age 88. They are buried at the Harry S. Truman Library and Museum in Independence, Missouri. Dwight Eisenhower, our 34th president, was born on October 14, 1890 in Denison, Texas. He married Mary Mamie Dowd when he was 26 and she was 20. They were married for 53 years and had 2 children. He was 62 when elected president and served 2 terms. He was the supreme commander of the Allied forces on D-Day. As president, he created the Interstate Highway System, the Department of Health and Human Services, and the Department of Education. He died at age 78. They are buried at the Dwight Eisenhower Presidential Library and Museum in Abilene, Kansas. John F. Kennedy, our 35th president, was born on May 29, 1917 in Brookline, Massachusetts. He married Jacqueline Bouvier when he was 36 and she was 24. They were married for 10 years and had 3 children. He was the youngest president elected at age 43. Teddy Roosevelt was the youngest to become president at age 42 upon the death of William McKinley. Kennedy served for 2 years before being assassinated on November 22, 1963. He championed the U.S. space program and showed cool leadership during the Cuban Missile Crisis. He died at age 46. They are buried at the Arlington National Cemetery in Arlington, Virginia. Lyndon Baines Johnson, our 36th president, was born on August 27, 1908 in Stonewall, Texas. He married Claudia Lady Bird Taylor at age 26. She was 22. They were married for 39 years and had 2 children. He assumed the office of president at age 55 after the death of John F. Kennedy and served out his remaining term, then served one more term of his own. He presided over the unpopular Vietnam War. Domestically, he won passage of the Clean Air Act and the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and in 1965 created Medicare and Medicaid and passed the Voting Rights Act of 1965. He died at age 64. They are buried at the Johnson Family Cemetery at Lyndon B. Johnson National Historical Park in Stonewall, Texas. Richard Nixon, our 37th president, was born on January 9, 1913 in Yorba Linda, California. He married Thelma Pat Ryan when he was 27 and she was 28. They were married for 53 years and had 2 children. He was 56 when elected president. He served 1 full term and resigned 1 year and 6 months into a second term on August 9, 1974, due to the Watergate scandal. He ended American fighting in Vietnam, improved relations with the Soviet Union, and transformed our relationship with China. He died at age 81. They are buried at the Richard Nixon Presidential Library and Museum, Yorba Linda, California. Gerald Ford, our 38th president, was born on July 14, 1913 in Omaha, Nebraska. He married Elizabeth Betty Bloomer when he was 35 and she was 30. They were married for 58 years and had 4 children. He assumed the office of president at age 61 after the resignation of Richard Nixon and served out his remaining term. He failed in his bid for re-election. He's the only president never to have been elected to the office of either president or vice president, and the only president from Michigan. He granted a full, free, and absolute pardon to former President Richard Nixon. He died at age 93. They are buried at the Gerald R. Ford Museum, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Jimmy Carter, our 39th president, was born on October 1, 1924. He married Rosalind Smith when he was 21 and she was 18. They were married for 77 years, the longest of any president, and they had 4 children. He was 52 when elected and served 1 term. He was the longest-lived president in the United States history and the first to reach the age of 100. As president, he pardoned all Vietnam draft evaders and negotiated major foreign policy agreements, most notably the Camp David Accords. After Carter's presidential term ended, he established the Carter Center to promote human rights, earning him the 2002 Nobel Peace Prize. Ronald Reagan, our 40th president, was born on February 6, 1911 in Tampico, Illinois. He was married to Jane Wyman for 9 years and had 2 children with her. He married Nancy Davis after his divorce from Jane, and they were married for 52 years and had 2 children. He was 29 and Jane was 23 when they married. He was 41 and Nancy was 31 when they married. He was 69 when elected president and served 2 terms. He appointed the first woman, Sandra Day O'Connor, to the Supreme Court and implemented Reaganomics. He died at age 93. They are buried at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library and Museum, Simi Valley, California. George Herbert Walker Bush, our 41st president, was born on June 12, 1924 in Milton, Massachusetts. He married Barbara Pierce when he was 21 and she was 20. They were married for 73 years and had 6 children. He was 64 when elected president and served for 1 term. He assembled a multinational force to compel the withdrawal of Iraq from Kuwait in the Persian Gulf War. He signed the Clean Air Act of 1990 and the Americans with Disabilities Act. He died at age 94. They are buried at the George H.W. Bush Presidential Library and Museum, College Station, Texas.